speed and lock the door. Lord. Well, take another drink. The next round is on me. Tequila, whiskey, beer, or gin. I don't care what you think. I'm getting drunk again, and it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. He stole my champagne bottle and my lucky silver cross. My baby gave him to me and I can't believe I lost. Wish I could remember where I was when this began. Another drink, I start to think the bottle is my friend. My friend. My friend. Long black limousine, won't you drive me home? I've been drinking all damn day, and now I got to go. Now if you see that limousine driving down the street, take my advice, no, don't think twice. Call the state police. Oh. Well, take another drink. The next round is on me. Tequila, whiskey, beer, or gin. I don't care what you think. I'm getting drunk again, and it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. Oh, take another drink. The next round is on me. Tequila, whiskey, beer, or gin. I don't care what you think. I'm getting drunk again, and it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. Take another drink. The next round is on me. Tequila, whiskey, beer, or gin. I don't care what you think. I'm getting drunk again, and it won't be long. No, 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 it won't be long.
It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, I hope you're doing all right. We got a busy show scheduled for today. as we usually do. But first, this show is being brought to you in part by Ken Panera and Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Ken Panera and Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099. 845-221-4099. Let Ken Panera and Tomkovich knock out your legal problem. 845-221-4099. Don't forget, I'm going to pick up the consultation fee. And also, make sure you go to the office, man. There's a bunch of hotties in that office, man. I'm telling you. 845-221-4099. The show is also being brought to you in part by the Gentleman Boxer. That's right. This is the story of Joe Grimm and a lot of other fighters of the 20s, almost a forgotten generation of fighters. This is a must-read book. It's written by Ian Grumeza. You could check out his website about this book and some other projects he's working on, www.iongrumeza.com. Or if you don't have a pen or pencil handy and you got a mind like a sieve, then just go to our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click one of the Gentleman Boxer banners. There, we got a couple of them on the site. And get yourself a copy. It's a must-read. We're going to be divulging into Joe Grimm as time goes on, and I hope that you guys get a copy. It is our book of the year. That's right, the Billy C. Book of the Year, The Gentleman Boxer by Ian Grumeza. And also this show is being brought to you in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York. You know, my man Joel, he's in here every day. And he's got to cut out a little early tonight, but he's like, oh, no, I'm in Westchester, man. I can't possibly go to Turning Stone. That's like at the other end of the planet, isn't it, Billy C? You know, what are you talking about, man? It's a 2.5-hour drive. I mean, I have to drive 2 hours to get a gallon of milk, for God's sakes, you know? I mean, geez. You know, I got to travel 2 hours to get a shovel a deer crap out of my lawn. Come on, Joel. Anyway, why do you got to go to Turning Stone? Well, Mike Tyson is making his debut as not as a fighter, as a promoter, man. And it's going to be the last Friday night fights. It's going to be a great time. I'm going to be there. Alex Papali is going to be there. We got some listeners going to be showing up. Get yourself some tickets right now. Visit the website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the fight poster. Can't miss it. It's right there on the right-hand side. Coming up a little bit later, we got Scotty Krause. He's going to be joining us. And, you know, and this is a guy that, for all you guys that want to, pick on Scott, he doesn't think that Kovalev is all that great. You know, I guess I don't know. He says he hasn't proved nothing yet, but I disagree. But anyway, he's going to be joining us, and then we're going to be doing an interesting blast from the past today. On Don Cockle. Alex Papali is going to be joining us in a little bit, and we're going to be talking about former world heavyweight title challenger. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Don Cockle. And if you've never seen the fight between he and The Rock, Rocky Marciano, it's worth watching, man. It's worth watching. A lot of controversy around that fight, especially in the UK, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. Right now, we got the Westchester reunion going on in the chat room. Hey, you're from Westchester? Hey, I'm from Westchester, man. Yeah, we're part of Westchester. Oh, Tarrytown. Oh, Elmford. Oh, man, where? Mamaroneck. Oh, man, Westchester, man. You know, I used to work in Westchester for years down in Tarrytown, and I got news for you. I know everybody talks about pizza, and, well, I know I talk about pizza. The best pizza is in the state of New York. There's no question about that. However, I will, oh, God, Alex is in the chat room. He's definitely going to disagree with me on that. But there is a place in Westchester, in Elmsford, as a matter of fact, called King Pizza, which the original King Pizza, which was across from the pharmacy, it wasn't even located at the same spot as it is now, was the best pizza. I used to, when I used to go down to Jet games, I used to go out of my way and go that way just to grab a couple of pies from King Pizza. They do have I think the Suns expanded it, and there is still a King Pizza in Elmsford, and I heard it's pretty good, but it's definitely not the way it used to be. But anyway, we got some emails to read, and now they're talking. Oh, Sal's, yeah. Well, LDL TV, Sal's is great. Sal's, listen, I was in a meeting last week with some guys from Atlanta. And I had to admit that I was shocked that I had to travel all the way to Georgia to have arguably the top three. Listen, I'll be honest right now. The top three pizzas I've had in my life, which I love, is Sal's. And this is not necessarily in the order. Sal's, my man, King Pizza. And I do have to admit that the pizzas that my man Alex sent me were pretty good, and I did take into consideration that he had them freeze dried and or whatever he had. No, vacuum sealed and shipped to me, and I heated them up, and they still were good. He's yet to take me. He hasn't shown me the secret place yet, but I'm sure if I go in and get a slice pie, I judge pizza by the slice pie because the slice pie is always different. But anyway, top three, you know. And I got news for you. It has to do with listen, pizza. It's a boxing show. We're talking about pizza. Pizza is really a few ingredients, right? You know, and what makes and of course the ovens, and that's what Sal's down in Georgia. You know, that's what he did. He actually bought a used old brick oven from Long Island, had it dismantled and shipped to him. He buys all of his ingredients from Italy. And he ends up producing a pie that's shockingly New Yorkish. And yeah, Connecticut makes a good pie too. Anyway, we got some emails. Rest in peace, Trevon says, Orlando Solis beats Wilder, LOL. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I ain't kidding you, man. Obviously, you know, is Deontay Wilder going to be one of these? I mean, you know, no disrespect to this handle. Rest in peace, Trevon. Obviously, we all know what he's talking about. Travesty in Florida. But is this what we're going to expect? You know, I mean, we were goofing around about skin color the last couple of days, and everybody was taking it in you know, in stride. And but is this what we're going to get with Wilder? Is that you think this is going to become a racial thing? You know, because Orlando Solis, I mean, to say LOL, I mean, to make it like what an outrageous statement, you know, gives me the impression of one and two things. Either it's a race thing, or this person is totally drank the Kool-Aid and has no idea what quality fighters are. And if you think that Deontay Wilder is a quality fighter just because he's 29-0 with 29 knockouts, and that he would destroy Orlando Solis, I feel for you, rest in peace, Trevon. I really do, because obviously you've never seen Orlando Solis fight. Do I think it's a good fight? Yeah. Do I think it's a good test? Yeah. Because I think if Deontay Wilder beats Orlando Solis, especially knocks him out, then I got to get on and start giving Deontay Wilder credit. You know, but I want to see it. I think that's a good matchup. It's not even that dangerous of a matchup in terms of ranking. So, rest in peace, Trevon is LOL-ing me and saying, "Are you kidding?" You know, and no, I'm not. I do believe that Orlando Solis would beat Deontay Wilder. I'd love to be wrong, because I would love to have a legitimate American heavyweight in the mix like Deontay Wilder. I just don't think he's the guy, man.
If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Rosselli Enterprises. Rosselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all: dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flowboys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Rosselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RosselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, All the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the number 1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the IBO computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at IBOBoxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Glad you could join us. And if you're watching or listening live right now on one of the streams, make sure you just pop into the chat room. A lot of interesting stuff going on in there. And I want to respond to my man Henry. He says he wanted to get my thoughts on this week's heavyweight showdown between Pulov and Tony Thompson, and how I would rank Thompson in the current American heavyweight division. First of all, we've talked a lot about that in the past. I've had the luxury of seeing Pulov live. I saw him in Denmark, and I don't know what all the hoopla is about with this guy. I think Tony Thompson has a really good chance of beating him. I mean, that's how unimpressed I am with Pulov. He doesn't have any blazing hand speed. His knockout power isn't as decisive as Deontay Wilder. I mean, let's be real. It's not. Deontay Wilder, if he lands a flush shot on his opponents, they go down. That's not the case with Pulov. Tony Thompson is as slow as molasses. He's one of these guys that, he starts to deliver a punch and you can, get up and go to the refrigerator, make a sandwich, and come back and sit down, and it's just getting to its target, I think it's an interesting fight. I think if Pulov takes him lightly, just like David Pierce did, we very well may see an upset. I think Tony Thompson is a guy that's riding out the storm right now. He's got a couple of extra lives here. Everybody wrote him off for the first fight against David Price at 41 years old. He was in the worst shape of his life. And for the second fight, he came back in good shape. I have a feeling he's going to be in good shape for this fight. And he's looking to pad his bank account, which he has been doing. And I think he's an extremely live underdog in this fight. So we'll break him down tomorrow, and I'll give you my exact thoughts. It is part of the challenge. But God's own prototype, I love that. No, it's not Billy C. He says, Wilder needs an opponent who can get out of the first round to test his skills. I agree with God's own prototype 100%. 100%. Thanks for the email. Carlos Luingas says, so what happens when Canelo weighs in at 154? He says, then what? I don't want to hear that. That's the reason Canelo wins this fight. He says, Mayweather fans are so one-sided, it's not even funny. I was wondering about that. If Canelo gets on that scale at 154, right? And let's say he hops on that scale and he's 154, 2 pounds over the weight limit, right? First of all, they're not going to cancel the fight They're not going to cancel the fight, man. Guaranteed. They're not going to cancel. So now it comes into the financial repercussions that I am sure are in the contract. What can Floyd do? Floyd can't really complain because he pulled the same crap with Juan Manuel Marquez. So I've been wondering about that, Carlos. I've been wondering about that with Team Alvarez. Should they even worry about the extra 2 pounds? I mean, hey, they're making enough money. Pay it off. Do like Floyd does. And I agree with Carlos that if Canelo Alvarez knocks the snot out of Floyd and all the Floyd fans start saying, oh, he was too big, he was too young, making all the excuses, man, I'm going to puke. Listen, just like I said, for all the Canelo fans, don't make the weight issue an excuse if Floyd beats your ass. And all the Floyd Mayweather fans, I don't want to hear any excuses if Canelo beats his ass. So there's no excuses for this fight. They've had 9,000 years to prepare for it. And, listen, no excuses. We're going to have a winner. We're going to have a loser. And that's the way it's going to be. Unless it comes out as a draw. Then we're going to have 2 losers or 2 winners or I don't know. My man Biggerback says, I can't blame Bernard Hopkins for his terribly awful commentary and unprofessionalism because that's who he is. I blame the guys responsible for giving someone who's known for his inability to talk a job on air doing just that. He's right. I agree with Biggerback, man. I mean, yesterday I was making fun of Bernard, but I think Biggerback says it best. I can't argue with that line. I can't argue. He's right. It's not Bernard Hopkins' fault. Same thing with Freddie Roach. A lot of people are like, what did he say? I can't understand Freddie Roach. What? It's not Freddie Roach's fault. Somebody's paying him to be on air. If they want to pay Bernard Hopkins to talk about both and breathing and all his other invented words, so be it. Yeah, Biggerback's right. So basically he's telling me in a nice way to shut the F up, He says some people are just flat out terrible on the mic, period. I agree. B-Hop is one of those guys, and he's not improving anytime soon. I agree. He will never, although he seems like he's trying to, be the intelligent Bernard. That's what makes me laugh about him. But he says these guys don't belong on air, and whoever is responsible for hiring unskilled speakers are the real idiots. And again, I agree with that line too, Biggerback. He says, on the subject of Bernard, he says, one of the reasons he's one of my favorite all-time fighters, and no, it's not because of his interviewing skills, believe it or not, but because he has one of the strongest opposition levels. He's never ducked anyone. He's pulled many upsets, and he's done all that with no amateur background. Rather, he learned to fight in prison. He says, however, I do think he should start ducking now. There's no way in hell does a 48-year-old beat Kovalev. He will give Bernard Hopkins a terrible beating that he may never recover from. It's funny, Biggerback. They were talking about that in the chat room yesterday. And, the thing is I really, again, I can't argue with any of Biggerback's thoughts today. The question is then why, one of the things that B-Hop has always said was that, he's staying with the sport because A, he's still competitive, even though he's 48, and B, nobody's really whooped his ass. I mean, that's his exact words, right? So I guess he's waiting for the ass whooping to walk away. I can't see Bernard hanging around if he's not performing. The reason why he's hanging around now is because he performs. Or if he has a crap performance, he comes back with a good one. But to just hang around and not fight the best that he's been that's his MO in the last half a dozen years, that defeats the purpose. Then why should he hang around? Why doesn't he just walk away now? The only reason he's hanging around, in my opinion, is because he wants to continue upsetting the apple cart. And when he loses, maybe he walks away finally and goes for that coveted broadcasting job. I don't know. I don't know, but some great points, Big Back. I agree with you today on everything. My man Alex T, the other Alex, says, I loved seeing weeknight fights. That's what I grew up watching with ESPN on Thursdays and on the USA Tuesday Night Fights series. He says, let me throw this out there. That win the other night by Danny Jacobs, in my opinion, is more impressive than any win on Curtis Stevens' record. He says, I'm typing this as I cook dinner, so I'm not going to go on. But Lorenzo is on a much higher level than Saul Roman, Derek Findlay, and Elvin Ayala. That's another good point. You guys, I'm agreeing with you today. I do believe that Giovanni Lorenzo was a huge step up for Danny Jacobs. And as far as Curtis Stevens goes, listen, the only people that think that Curtis Stevens is unbeatable is Curtis Stevens and his family. I clearly and definitely think that what they're doing with Curtis Stevens is clearly setting him up for a big fight and let the chips fall as they will. I mean, they're not. I don't think that they think that they're going to beat a Triple G or even a Kid Chocolate. I really don't. But we'll see. And I will say this about the three names you mentioned: Saul Roman and Elvin Ayala. Definitely nothing special. But Derek Findlay, I think he's an underrated fighter. I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. That's for sure. I got some news that I want to talk about. I got one more email, and I'll read that a little bit later. I also got some news I want to talk about, like the big mystery that's going on in Miami. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Horatio and Miami CSI unit is looking for your help and everyone else's, so I'm going to get to that a little bit later. I'm also going to talk about the fight that is happening between Roberto Duran and Jorge Castro, a 3-round exhibition match. We'll talk about that. Some sad news out of Utah. A couple of unbeaten lightweights going to be going at it. And one of the biggest stories in the news today is a pro debuter, newly signed Vasyl Lomachenko, who signed with Top Rank, is making his pro debut against a 23-3 fighter, and we'll talk all about that coming up a little bit later. But right now, I'm going to take a short break, and when I come back, I'm scheduled to have Scotty Krause join us. We'll get his thoughts on the fights from the weekend, and maybe I'll even ask him a couple of points about the fights that are coming up this weekend. All of that's coming up in about 2.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretch of that man, I
would think. You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York and the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell him Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C, the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. It's what I do.
Bill.
Oh, wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting me? What?
Wrong.
What's the problem?
Billy
What?
C.
I did not have...
We're gonna have to ask
wrong
you.
speech. What do you mean wrong, Billy C? What's going on here? Fine, I'll go. I just wanted to talk some boxing on TPSradio.net. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need your damn show. I'll get my own talking wrestling with the other Billy C. Yeah, that sounds good. I've always been a Hulkamaniac anyway.
Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. Glad you could join us. If you don't have Fight Now in your sports channel lineup, you need to call your local television provider and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. I want Fight Now right now. That's what you tell them. For all information about the channel, you can find it on their website, www.fightnow.com. I see you guys are going at it here in the chat room a little bit about Triple G. I mean, listen, let's not put Curtis Stevens, as a super opponent for Triple G just yet. I mean, come on, man. We were just talking about that. Elvin Ayala and Saul Roman. He goes a total of 3 rounds against those two guys, and all of a sudden he's the toughest opponent that Triple G has ever faced. Come on, man. I think what's his name? Gabriel Rosales is that what his name is? I don't know. Scott's gonna hook me up. Scott. Wait. Before I meant to say, and joining us right now is Scotty Krause. What's up, Scott?
Yeah, that was the best lead in ever, Bill.
I know. I was like, anyway, was Gabe Rosales, right?
Rosado.
Rosado, that's it. Gabe Rosado, I thought he was a legitimate opponent for Triple G. I enjoyed watching Triple G break him down. I think Triple G's last 3 fights were against decent opposition. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree, and I think Rosado has ended up being one of his toughest opponents.
Yeah, and Rosado moved up to fight him. I mean. And then he got robbed in that, or maybe it was the fight before. But I like Gabe Rosado. I like him, Philly fighter. He's good, even though he's out in Arizona now. But anyway, let's talk about some fights from the weekend. First, let's talk about Friday's fights. I mean, we did have somebody that covered that ringside, Scott. But man, I felt the excitement watching on TV. I couldn't tell you, and I'm sure you felt the same way. The history of ballpark boxing, and then the fact that the last professional fight at the Chicago White Sox Stadium was my man Sonny Liston 50 years earlier, and you get all this build-up for these matches, and they all lived up to the billing, man. I mean, first of all, let's talk about Arturo Spitska against Mike Molo. Again, these guys put on a very exciting performance. What's your thoughts on Arturo? Is this guy going to be a player in the heavyweight division?
I don't think he'll be a player in the heavyweight division, but I tell you, he puts on exciting fights, and when you match him with Mike Malo, you have yourself a masterpiece right there in terms of excitement. I mean, the rematch was everything the first fight was, almost a carbon copy. I mean, how many times do you go see a sequel in a movie theater and it lives up to the first movie and equals the first movie? I mean, this one was almost the same thing over again, and you could match these guys up another dozen times as far as I'm concerned, and I'd watch it every time because that's fighting. That's exciting, and to have it in Chicago, in the stadium, at that atmosphere, that just added to it. And you're right. I mean, the stadium atmosphere is a throwback atmosphere for boxing. And I'll tell you, when Miguel Cotto fought Yuri Foreman at Yankee Stadium, I was there and I covered that fight. And of every fight I've ever covered, that's the most memorable. Not because of the fight necessarily, but just the atmosphere was it was unbelievable. And I can't imagine what it must have been like to be there live. But I thought that was great, and that was a great fight to start with. And you really got 4 fights because they showed the entire first fight, which I give them a lot of credit for. I think that was a great thing for them to do. And then you got the rematch, and then you had 2 other fights, which were both pretty good. So maybe Friday Night Fight's best night of the year so far.
I agree. I think that was the best night of the year. Hey, you were the guy that carried that bloody towel. you were the one that brought that bloody towel to Yankee Stadium and threw it at Art McKinney Jr., weren't you?
That's right. I was one of them. I threw that towel in there, and I was just trying to fool him. But you know what? You can't fool Arthur McKinney Jr.
No.
Yeah, he's on his game. He knew that was a fake towel. That didn't come from Foreman's corner. So kudos to Arthur McKinney Jr.
Yeah, you're not gonna pull the wool over Art's eyes, right? But in the main event, you know, I'm watching this fight now. I did pick Fonfara, but I was watching the fight, and I'm saying to myself, "Oh man, this is what I was afraid of." Campillo looks fantastic. He's putting on a boxing lesson for Fonfara, and the whole time, all I kept saying to myself was, "Man, Fonfara, you know, what a guy that's going nowhere fast and blah 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 blah." And all of a sudden, the fight's over. Fonfara knocks out Campillo, and it was a legitimate knockout. I know Teddy Atlas was, thank God he was losing his voice. He was yelling so much. But what's your thoughts about that? And really, how good is Fonfara? I mean, is he a similar situation as Artur?
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a good comparison. I think he's maybe a little better than what we saw from Artur Szpilka in the heavyweight division. I think Szpilka is farther down the chain of fighters talent-wise, but I think Fonfara is I think where we have him ranked, which I believe, not having it in front of me, is around. He's outside the top 10, but within the top 15. I think that's exactly where he is and where he belongs right now. I think that represents his talent and what he's accomplished so far in his career. He was getting outboxed completely, and I tell you, I thought Teddy Atlas was just going to have a nervous breakdown, worrying about what the judges were going to do. I think he mentioned it just about every round. What are the judges thinking? What are the judges doing? I mean, I think he might need some therapy in the off season, Bill, to get a lot of these decisions out of his mind. He probably wakes up in the middle of the night screaming, that's a bad decision, because he really was sweating out what the judges were doing. As it turned out, we didn't need the judges. Fonfara took care of business, and Campillo was still a pretty good fighter, in spite of the fact that he was knocked out early by Kovalev. He's still a pretty good fighter. I thought, as they mentioned, Joe Tessitore, Teddy Atlas both mentioned the Divorce Cloud fight. They thought Campillo deserved a decision, and you and I, we talked about it at the time, and I thought Campillo deserved that decision. So I think he's capable of still fighting within the top 10. And Fonfara, who's just outside the top 10, was able to come back and score the knockout. And in boxing, it's different from other sports. You could be losing 15-0, and with one shot, the event's over. You win, and he was able to do that. And you got to give him credit because he never stopped trying. He kept throwing punches. He kept trying to do what he does. And even though he was getting outboxed, which might present some trouble down the road when you realize how easily he was being outboxed, and by someone who, by the way, whose fundamentals just were not very good. I mean, Campillo's hands sometimes were almost down to his knees, and the guy just, the Fonfara that is, just could not figure Campillo out. But he did get the win, and So he deserves credit for heart. He deserves credit for, will and determination. He kept fighting even though he was behind. There are a lot of fighters out there that when they're behind like that, they sort of resign themselves to finishing the fight maybe, but not to winning. And it was good to see Fonfara never stop trying to actually win. And he deserves credit for that. Very similar to what we saw from John Molina in his fight recently. And so that kind of fighter, who knows how far that will take them, even if he doesn't have top 10 talent necessarily. He's got top 10 desire, and that might take him far enough to a title shot.
Here's the thing, it makes you wonder. Campillo definitely had the skill over Fonfara. And then you start to wonder, how vicious of the knockout from Kovalev. I mean, what were the long-term effects? Are we seeing it now? Because we've seen Campillo take some savage beatings before the Kovalev fight and not go down. He had two pretty back-and-forth fights against Bebop Shumanov, too. And he's a power puncher. And maybe that kind of helped Fonfara a little bit. I'm not saying he didn't land a solid shot, but you never know. As far as me commenting on Teddy Atlas, the problem I have with Teddy and scoring, Scott, is simply this. You and I may disagree on a score. We may disagree on a round or something like that, but we realize that boxing is subjective. Somebody's got to whisper into Teddy's ear that, just because he thinks a fighter won a fight doesn't make it a robbery. If he scores a fight one-sided and the judges have it close, he's screaming that it was a robbery, and even when the viewers are scoring it similar to the judges and Teddy's wrong, he's commenting, the viewers aren't smart tonight. Or it just doesn't make any sense. The guy shouldn't even score a card. Really, I think I can't wait. I'm going to be ringside Friday for the fights up at Turning Stone, and I can't wait for Tyson, because he was jabbing at Tyson every chance he gets. He says something negative about Tyson. I hope he just is a fake ass kisser on Friday Night Fights, because if he says something wrong, I would love to see Tyson just nail him. But anyway, Darren Barker against Daniel Geale. What a fight this was. I was wrong on this one. I picked Daniel Geale. I thought Darren Barker, if I'm thinking as the fight's going along, I'm saying to myself, there's no way that they could be giving this fight to Daniel Geale. I thought Barker, one of the things I thought that he did well in this fight, Scott, was when Geale did throw a flurry of punches or what have you, Darren Barker always answered with the same amount, if not more, back. I give him, kudos for the whole fight. And one other comment before I get your thoughts on the fight and his win. If this fight, and I've been saying this all week, if this fight was in England, he gets counted out because they don't actually count to 10. And he was still rising at 9. The referee could have called him out, could have waved that fight off, and I don't think anybody would have really argued. Even Barker, he was in trouble. And, he got up, and the rest of the fight is history. What's your thoughts on Darren Barker and his win?
Well, I tell you, I figured Geale would win as well. I thought Geale would outbox him. I thought Geale had a better resume, and I thought that it'd be close, but I thought he'd win a decision. But Barker, what a heart on this guy, and how tough is he? And I think it goes to prove something. I think it speaks to another issue related to this fight that has been the topic of discussion quite a bit recently, and that's the supposed demise of Sergio Martinez, because he struggled a little bit with a guy like Darren Barker. We saw what kind of fighter Darren Barker was Saturday night, and I think if you want to relate it indirectly to the fight with Martinez, I think we should get off of Martinez's back, about criticizing him because he didn't beat this guy in a one-sided fight. Darren Barker, we see, is a good fighter. The middleweight division has a lot of good fighters in it, and even though a lot of them might not be from the USA, and we're not that familiar with them, guys like Martin Murray or Darren Barker or Daniel Geale, who's from Australia. These guys, they're good fighters, And, I think, and I know this conversation is about Martinez, but that's kind of all came to mind when Barker won. It's, wait a minute, Martinez, I don't think he's as deteriorated as some people are making him out to be. And you really don't know that until you get what you have Saturday night, where a former opponent goes out there and beats a top middleweight in Daniel Geale, wins the title, and then you realize, wow, he didn't just give Martinez a good fight because Martinez is slipping. He's actually a very good fighter, and I think he proved that Saturday night. I mean, he just fought a great fight, and you talk about another great card. I mean, I can't remember another year where just card after card just is as good as it's been this year, where you'll have 2 or 3 fights, and all of them are good. And I've been less disappointed with fights this year than I can remember in a long time, and Saturday night lived up to that as well.
Finally, the fight that and I would love to talk more about this card, because the fight that really surprised me, to be honest with you, was Kiko Martinez. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from him, but he just was on a mission, man, and that was an exciting fight. But let's talk about the Kovalev fight. Obviously we won't get into it, but I think a little more of Kovalev than you do, and I think that. I think Kovalev showed me some stuff on Saturday, and one of them, first of all, I think cleverly wasn't too clever. They were saying that they were going to go toe-to-toe with Kovalev for several weeks, and I thought it was all a ploy. I said to myself, no way is he going to go toe-to-toe with this guy. And what does he do? He goes toe-to-toe with the guy. And I think Kovalev showed us some stuff that I was impressed with. He showed me that, yes, he's got some hand speed. He shows us that he uses the jab. He showed us that he works both the body and the head. And even if you got your earmuffs up, as Teddy Atlas would say, he's breaking through those and he's still landing shots. I think he's the complete package. I'm enjoying watching him progress like I am with Triple G. And I thought Cleverly was a quality fighter. I think Kovalev can only go up from here. What's your thoughts on that fight and the ultimate package with Kovalev?
Well, you see, I agree with everything you said, and I don't think we're really in that much of a disagreement. For the listeners who don't know necessarily what we were talking about behind the scenes, our disagreement came over the rankings. And it's just simply sticking to a principle of the guy who beats the guy in divisional rankings. That's why Kovalev, I put Kovalev at number 5, because Cleverly was at number 5, which I think is where Cleverly belonged. And Kovalev beats Cleverly, so he goes to number 5. Whether you think he belongs higher or not, he may. He may be better than some of the guys above him. In fact, there are 4 guys ranked above him right now. I think it's John Pascal, Ben Hopkins, Ken Dawson, and Stevenson. 2 of those.
Hey, Scott, I gotta reset, man. I'm losing you. I want you to finish that thought. So give me a couple minutes. I gotta reset this whole damn thing. All right. We got that problem again, which really pisses me off. And you know what? I guess I got to finally replace the damn box, which I have. I have a new one. But let me jump topics here real quick while we wait to get Scotty back. But we got a serious problem apparently going on in the state of Florida, in the city of Miami. It was reported that last night there was a slew of prostitution busts and excessive drinking arrests and indecent exposure and public drunkenness. It took place all around the streets of Miami last night, and the police are looking into several leads at what the hell was going on in Miami. I mean, yes, it's usually a hopping place, and of course there's some whores hanging around and people drinking too much and all of that. But last night, it was just out of hand. And as a matter of fact, the police in Miami, Horatio from CSI wants anybody with information on what was causing the problems in Miami last night to please get a hold of them, because they're reaching out to the public for some support. They don't have any clues at what could have triggered the mayhem in the city of Miami last night, except for one. According to reports, Horatio from CSI said that his team found a gold key. That's all they know. They found a gold key someplace in Miami, and that's the only lead that they have in this whole thing. So what could have a gold key and a slew of prostitution busts and excessive drinking and all this other problems, overturned cars and fires and everything else? They have no idea what it's caused from. So if you have any leads or if you have any ideas of what that could have been, could you please get a hold of Horatio at CSI? The thing that I was thinking of, they mentioned, when I read this, they mentioned a gold key. I'm thinking Jose Suleiman. Didn't he get the key to the city last night? So maybe Jose Suleiman and, his cronies and stuff, maybe they were out, having a good time, hooting and hollering with some of the girls and some of the other things that they're talking about. So, hey, maybe it could very well have been the Jose Suleiman key to the city that they presented him with yesterday. So if you have any information on that, please get a hold of Horatio at CSI. Roberto Duran and Jorge Castro will indeed be fighting next weekend in a 3-round exhibition fight. Now, this is actually going to be the third time these two guys have met. Roberto Duran is 62 years old, and Jorge Castro is 45. And people are asking me about this, if it was true, and was it really going to happen? And it has been confirmed that it will happen. And they said, "Do you think it's going to be a real fight?" I don't know about Castro. I have no idea about Jorge Castro and how he will look at this situation. But I do know one thing. I do know that Roberto Duran is going to take it pretty serious, I would think. So I don't know, man. I'm thinking that this exhibition could turn out to be exciting, maybe. I don't know. All I do know is that Roberto Duran hasn't looked like he was in fighting condition the last couple of times I've seen him. But then again, how long have they known about this, and could he be in good shape or not? Well, Scotty's back with us. I'm sorry about that, Scott. So what were you saying about the Kovalev fight?
Okay, well, I was just saying that you and I think, aren't in as much disagreement as you might think. I was very impressed with Kovalev. I agree. Clearly, was a very good opponent. And Kovalev was extremely impressive. I mean, I don't know what he showed us everything he could show us in this fight. The disagreement simply came over the rankings, and for those who don't know, we try to be as objective as we can be with the divisional rankings, which is it's the guy who beats the guy. If you defeat a fighter ranked above you, you take that fighter's spot. Rather than just try to subjectively think, well, maybe he's better than that and we should put him here or there. It's more objective than that. You beat the guy, you take his spot. Cleverly was ranked number 5, which I think is where he deserved to be in the light heavyweight division, 4 guys ahead of him. And Kovalev, because he beat him, is now ranked at number 5. You might think he belongs higher, and that's fine to think that. That's fine to believe that he's better than a number 5. But objectively, that's where he's at because that's who he beat. The 4 guys above him are John Pascal, Bernard Hopkins, Chad Dawson, and Adonis Stevenson. Personally, I would pick him right now over 3, if not all 4 of those fighters if they fought. I think Kovalev is that good. I think he's shown a lot. I think he's shown boxing skills. He's shown the ability to mix up his punches. He can hurt you with either hand. He throws various punches. There's not just one punch you have to avoid and watch out for. It's not like early Manny Pacquiao where, he threw the right jab and the straight left was coming. And if you learned how to avoid that straight left, then you were in good shape. It's not like that with Kovalev. You have to watch out for all of this guy's punches. He's multi-dimensional, and he throws a lot of punches. The one thing I thought Cleverly had over him was volume punching, but Kovalev completely outpunched Cleverly, which to me was the most surprising thing. This guy's aggressive. He comes out to get the job done. His defense is pretty decent for a power puncher. He's got a lot going for him. There's no doubt about it. But having said all that, I still have my reservations. I'm still waiting because there are questions about him that he's yet to answer. And as he goes on and as he fights better competition or equal competition, a variety of fighters, those questions are going to pop up inside the ring, and we're going to get the answer to them. Guys like Kovalev, guys like Triple G, guys like Keith Thurman, it's very easy to get excited about them, and I'm as excited about them as well. They're fan-friendly. They're winning their fights in exciting fashion. But like Keith Thurman in his last fight against Diego Chavez, we never knew how does Thurman respond when he gets hit, when he's in there with the power puncher. That's one of the questions these guys need to answer. Thurman answered that question. He went into the ring. He was going to check the chin of Chavez right away. Well, you know what? He found out you can't just go in there and knock everybody out because that guy's going to knock you out if you're not careful. He made the adjustments. He fought a tough fight. He took some punishment, but he got the job done. Question answered. He passed the test. Good job. Kovalev, he still has to answer that question. He hasn't fought a lot of guys with a lot of power. You know, Cleverly didn't have many knockouts. Campillo doesn't have many knockouts. Cornelius White has, you know, his record shows knockouts, but 4 of his last 5 wins were by decision. At the higher level, he's not a knockout puncher. So Kovalev hasn't had his chin tested yet, so that's one question. What does he do when he gets in there with a guy like Adonis Stevenson who can crack as hard as he can? Can he take the punch, or is he going to fold the first time he gets hit by a hard shot? We don't know that yet. Secondly, what about his conditioning? I mean, here's a guy, he throws a lot of punches. He is an aggressive fighter. He throws hard shots that takes things out of you. He's gone 8 rounds one time, 7 rounds one time, and 6 rounds one time. Every other fight was less than 6 rounds. This guy is really a novice when it comes to fighting rounds. We don't know what he's going to do if he has to go 9 or 10. The 8-round fight that he won was a split decision win over Darnell Boone. So I don't know what happens, and you know this, Bill, as well as I do. Any guy with power, he knocks people out. Eventually there's a guy, eventually there's someone who is able to take their shot or is able to frustrate them and have the kind of defense where he can't land those power shots, and he's got to go late into a fight. They just don't fall down. What happens when a guy does that? What happens against a guy like B-Hop, whose defense might frustrate Kovalev? Can he overcome that? Can he not get frustrated? Can he stick to a fight plan? Is he going to be conditioned to go 12 rounds? Can he fight as hard in the 10th, 11th, 12th as he does in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th? Those are questions he has yet to answer. And that's the only reason I'm not ready to put this guy at the top of the division and say, hey, he's the best out there. He still has those questions to answer. Very likely, he may answer all of those affirmatively and be able to pass all those tests, but we haven't seen it yet. But what we have seen is enough to get excited about, for sure, and I can't wait to see this guy, like Triple G, like Keith Thurman. It's must-see TV. When they fight, you need to tune in because it's big, it's exciting, dramatic things happen. And Vincent Cleverly is a guy that I thought would do a little better than what he did against Kovalev. I mean, he was completely just outclassed. And I don't know that Cleverly could have done anything differently. I don't know that Cleverly has it in him to box, to move around, and stay away from a guy. He's used to going in there against guys who don't have that kind of power. And he was at a disadvantage because he doesn't have the power to get Kovalev's respect. Yet, he's right there in his face throwing punches. And if Kovalev can take those punches, which he did, then Cleverly's in trouble for standing in front of him, and he just I don't know that he had a plan B or another way to fight. So in a way, his style was made for a Kovalev. But that's a big test. He passed it with flying colors. I want to see what he does against the guys ranked in the top 4.
Yeah, I thought Cleverly would should have, I should say, tried to outbox him. But hey, Scott, we only got about a minute or so. I want to ask you your thoughts. It seems like I'm asking you your thoughts on Tony Thompson every couple of weeks now. But Tony Thompson is fighting Kubrat Pulev this weekend in another one of those big fights. It's actually an elimination fight. He could conceivably be fighting Vladimir Klitschko again for a third time. What's your thoughts against Tony Thompson against Pulev?
Well, I mean, for a heavyweight, an over 40 heavyweight, yeah, how active is this guy? I mean, my goodness. I mean, I really wasn't paying attention to the schedule as much. I was surprised when I looked at the schedule and I saw he was fighting this Saturday. It seems like he just fought David Price. It seems like we were just talking about that. I mean, that's pretty quick. So, very active, keeps him in shape, and I'm not picking against Tony Thompson. I mean, he's only lost to Vladimir Klitschko, unless you want to go back to like his third professional fight when he lost the 4-round decision. But other than that, he's beaten everybody else. So until I'm proven otherwise, until Tony Thompson loses to someone else, I'm going to pick him in every fight. So I'm going to take him against Pulev this weekend.
We got one other good fight, too. Abner Mares against Johnny. Well, we got a lot of good fights this week, but one I wanted to get your thoughts on. Abner Mares against Gianni Gonzalez. I love Gonzalez, his ups and downs, but Abner Mares is just, he just seems, he's on that verge. He's like a Mikey Garcia, he's a step away from becoming an elite fighter. How do you see this one going?
Well, absolutely. I think he's right on the cusp of the pound-for-pound list, and he keeps improving. I mean, he looks fantastic against Ponce de Leon. I think Abner Mares wins the fight. I think he's going to stop him, but I think it's going to be a very good fight until he does. Gonzalez is a tough guy, a good fighter, and I think it's going to be exciting. But I think mid-round, the second, third of the fight, I think Mares will stop him. But I think it's entertaining until that happens.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, my man. Well, listen, Friday we're going to be at the fight, so we'll see you again Wednesday and then Friday. So we'll be back to normal next week, all right?
All right, sounds good. Enjoy the fights this weekend.
All right, brother. You too, man. That's Scotty
All right,
Krause, and he was giving us his thoughts on a bunch of stuff today, and I appreciate all of that, as we usually do. And Scotty has some interesting insight. He was giving you a little backdrop story of his and my disagreement of Kovalev, but he reminded me about our own rules, and we do follow the guy who beat the guy rule. The guy who beat the guy rule is how you get into our rankings, And although I look at the light heavyweight rankings, and I see Adonis Stevenson there, and my argument was, well, Adonis Stevenson, first of all, he was a super middleweight. He gets picked to fight Chad Dawson as an easy opponent, as a guy that Chad Dawson was supposed to beat. So he gets thrown in there, and he wins. So he has one fight at light heavyweight, and it happens to be a knockout victory in devastating fashion over Chad Dawson. And all of a sudden, the guy who beat the guy, he's number one. Chad Dawson only drops down a couple of spots. You got B-Hop in there, and there you have it. You got your top four, and Cleverly was at number 5, and Kovalev wasn't even in the top 10. Or maybe he was down at number 8. Or actually, you know what? Now I'm thinking of it. I think he was at number 6. And my argument was, well, we got two guys that are in the top 10 fighting each other, and that should be worth something other than guys not even ranked. But Scotty was right. The guy who beat the guy. Hey, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, we're scheduled to have Alex Papali, and we'll be doing the blast from the past.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. and yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing Apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TALKINBOXING.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
You beat Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing Studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. Glad you could join us. And it's that time again. You know, we're going to be doing the Blast from the Past, which is sponsored by the International Boxing Organization, where their computerized ranking system is second to none. Check them out, www.iboboxing.com. This week's Blast from the Past features former world heavyweight title challenger Don Cockle. And joining us like he does every week to give us the skinny on Don, my main man, Alex Papali. What's up, Alex?
Billy C., good morning. Good evening.
Yeah, you better get it right, man. We changed this for you, Alex, for you, because you didn't like getting up in the morning. But anyway, some interesting stuff about this guy, huh? I know that we talked a little bit earlier today, but Don Cockle is, all but forgotten guy. I guess a lot of people in the UK know who he is, but this guy was a tough-as-nails guy, wasn't he?
He was, definitely a durable, tough, durable guy, and like you said, if we going to get the skinny on this guy, that might be appropriate thing to say, because they kind of, it really seemed like they take great pleasure in poking fun at his shape. He was a little chunky, and it was due to a glandular condition. He started out as a middleweight and was forced to gain weight. The condition forced him to gain weight, so he had to actually move up and fight as a light heavyweight when he was 22 years old.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that he had because when you the fight that really got me hooked on Don was the Marciano fight, and he didn't look pudgy in that fight at all. I mean, he was. That's
the thing. I thought they were kind of hard on him, because even there they were calling it. They kept referring to him in a lot of articles, the chubby challenger. And I did a Google image search, and there's a couple of shots from that fight where it does look like, he's under attack from Marciano, and he's sort of folding over a bit, and you see a couple of rolls, but, everybody looks like that if you fold over a bit. I don't know. I thought they were kind of rough on him, but there are some pictures where he does seem to have a little bit of jelly on him.
Well, when you look at his physique, it's not that much different than a guy like Sergey Lakaevich. I mean, they have a very similar body, or even Alexander Povetkin, because those guys, they have similar physiques. I mean, they're bigger than Don. He was actually only 5'11", and most of his career didn't even tip the scales more than 200 pounds. But anyway, first of all, he did fight some quality opposition at light heavyweight, like Lloyd Marshall. He beat him a couple of times. Freddie Bishore, Nick Barone, and you found a guy that was that I had noticed as well. He fought for the Commonwealth title against a pretty well-known guy. Tell us about that fight.
Which one, Randy Turpin?
Yeah, Randy Turpin.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I should have done the usual breakdown there. Yes, he was born September 22nd in 1928 in Battersea, London. He had quick hands and very determined. He wasn't all that powerful, and like I said, he had the glandular problem, which I'm ashamed to say I didn't find the name of the condition or what exactly causes it. But you're right. I mean, I think there's a lot of fighters. Boxing is not about body beautifuls, body's beautiful, I should say. I mean, some guys, yes, like a Mike Tyson, who has a physique that goes with their intimidating fighting style. But other guys, look at a guy like Larry Holmes. He was muscular, but he always had a little bit of chunk on him. Look at somebody like Juan Diaz. He always had a little bit of baby fat on him, but he was always in shape. And I think that was the case with Don Cockle. And there might have been something, whatever the condition was, that made it so that he just, as much as he worked hard, he just tended to carry a little more body fat. But yeah, he fought Randy Turpin. He was mostly fighting in the UK, and eventually, yes, he fought Randy Turpin, who, of course, Turpin had the great win over Sugar Ray Robinson, and that fight is on YouTube. I'll post it, in some of the social media for the show. But wow, Turpin, he hammers him.
I suffer from a condition similar to that, too. It's called cannoleitis, man. That's how I get the rolls. But you make a great point, especially using Baby Bull, because you picture him, and you can get a pretty good idea of exactly what you're talking about, because he was far from chiseled, that's for sure. Don fought some tough guys. We mentioned Randy Turpin, but what about Tommy Farr? And the 3 fights with Harry Kid Matthews, which was interesting to me, because I happen to have seen some, I had been watching some Rocky Marciano fights recently, and I saw him also fight Harry Matthews, and he knocked out Harry Matthews, but Harry Matthews was, pretty quick, and he could box, and Don Cockle faced him 3 times and beat him 3 times. One was close; it was a split decision, but and he also had a win against Ronald Lastarza, another opponent for Rocky Marciano. So he earned his shot at the world heavyweight title in 1955.
Yeah, when he beat Lastarza was ranked 4th, and you're right. I mean, before that, there had been the Lloyd Marshall fights. Those were good wins. I mean, Lloyd Marshall was a big, was a guy. I think we did him just a couple of weeks ago. He was the Murderer's Row. We did him. He was a guy that didn't know much about. We did him like with the Holman Williams right around that time, and then, I mean, I hate to make this sound, because a lot of times, we've done 2 UK fighters in a row here, and I hate to make it sound like this is like this pro-America show, but hey, we are pro-American. I'm American. I mean, what can you say? But yeah, some of the best fighters on his record are the Americans, and I always try to, when you have the luxury of looking at a guy's whole career when you do the blast, and you try to target where maybe the prime was, where the guy's prime was, and I think maybe that was it. Like you said, the push that he made right before he fought Marciano, he did have 3 big wins. He had the victory over Lastarza, and also he looked good against Johnny Arthur. I mean, it was decisive but laborious, the way they called it. But those 4 fights leading up to the Marciano one, that was a nice little streak he was on there.
Now, I think he was ranked in the top 5. Was he a number 1 contender when he fought Rocky?
I didn't see that. I would say he must have. If he wasn't, he must have been close because they did not talk well about his chances. That's for sure.
Well,
but certainly was deserving because when you know what, you could go even further back for that streak because when he beat Tommy Farr, that was 53, and then it's all wins after that. And the Harry Matthews wins, the Johnny Arthur wins, and the Roland Lastarza wins were all big. You know, those were top-ranked guys that he beat.
Well, when he lost to Randy Turpin for the British light heavyweight title, he didn't lose again till he fought Rocky Marciano.
Right, yeah. And Turpin, that says something about how great Turpin was, I think.
Yeah,
Turpin. If you look at, Turpin manhandles him. He drops him, I think, three knockdowns, and they're brutal.
We should do.
Of course, the Marciano fight is pretty brutal too, but he hangs in there for a while with The Rock.
Yeah, we should do Randy Turpin and all the Turpins. That was quite a story, the fighting Turpins and some of the right up your alley kind of ending of their lives and stuff.
We did do Randy. I didn't know why he had brothers. Huh?
Oh yeah. Oh
wow.
But
Randy, yeah, that was very sad. They mentioned that in the obituary for Cockle. I read the obituary by John Rhoda, who was a guy, we read some of his stuff last week. He's the writer for The Guardian. In '83, when Cockle died, he mentioned that, it was kind of a sad end for Cockle, too, because he died of cancer. I guess he had cancer for a while, and he couldn't speak anymore. It affected his larynx, so he had to communicate by writing on a little piece of paper.
Yeah, I'm glad we've come a long way with that. But his fight. Let's talk about the Rocky Marciano fight. It got me to the point where I said to myself, we got to do this guy because I thought that he was giving Rocky Marciano all he could take for a while there. He was showing a lot of heart. He took some shots that I don't know how he was standing up. He did survive the 8th round barely. And at that point, you would have hoped that maybe his corner, throws in the towel. But no, they sent him out for the 9th, and Rocky picked up where he left off. But what an exciting fight! Did you get a chance to watch it today?
Yes, I did, and it was a very good fight. And this was another guy that, even though he did not have a lot of power, he stood right in there and he traded, and he had quick hands. It was, I did notice that they seemed to, he tried to get them, the fight was in San Francisco with Marciano, and the ring was not a huge ring. It was right around 17 feet, and they tried to get a bigger one, but they did not, refused his request. And evidently, I'm not sure if that was one of the first fights to use 8-ounce gloves, but that was what they were wearing, and it seems like they'd mentioned it a couple of times. I don't know if that was a bigger deal or not.
8-ounce for the heavyweights?
Yeah.
There were some things after that fight, but before we get into that, not that this is about Rocky Marciano, but what also is on full display in this fight, which is, in my opinion, adds to, you could tell that he just couldn't protect himself the way he was earlier in the fight, and eventually succumbed to Rocky. That was something I noticed, but you couldn't help.
Definitely, you're right. It was just a breaking down of a guy.
You couldn't help but kind of root for Cockle. And as a matter of fact, after the fight, there was a lot of controversy in England. As a matter of fact, the BBBSC wanted the result reversed, and they were trying to make a claim about Rocky Marciano fighting illegally. Tell us about that.
Yeah, and I found it interesting because there had been a similar complaints against Cockle himself just a few fights earlier. Lastarza had actually come home from London with photos of Cockle landing low blows that no one warned him about. So, when you watch like you said when we spoke earlier, some of the things that Cockle's team were upset about were like hitting after the bell. It's very hard to tell when it happened, I did read a beautiful article by Bud Schulberg, and he mentions it was a very dull-sounding gong that they had that night at the fight. So maybe there were times that neither guy heard it. So Marciano couldn't stop himself. When you watch the fight, as brutal as it is, just like in his KO of Jersey Joe Walcott, Marciano gives him that extra little bang right when the guy's down. And Cockle took another shot when he was down too that there's no warning for.
I know, and it's really a couple of weeks ago we had the big discussion over video and why young fighters, young fans, can't really appreciate the video, because when you watch that video and the crispest, clearest version of that is like a replay, and they used to film. You and I were talking about this today. They used to film the fight, and then later on put the voice in and the bell and everything else. So everything is out of whack. You hear the bell ring and they're still going full force. So that's not necessarily hitting after the bell. You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right. And in fact, I think the clip I saw on YouTube, it sounds as if it has two different soundtracks. Like one might have been the original soundtrack that has Don Dunphy starting out doing the radio play, which is, that's just so cool to hear it, because he describes everything that's happening, and that's a skill to hear somebody do that. But then midway through the recording, it switches to some other guy, so that's not the original audio.
Yeah, well, that's what Moriel Ronaldo tries to do. Except the difference is when you're listening on radio, you need someone to call the action as it's happening, so you can paint that picture in your mind. However, when you're watching it on TV, I don't need to know every single punch. I'm watching it, damn it. But
exactly.
But anyway, his career definitely was affected by the Rocky Marciano loss. He was stopped in that one, and subsequently was knocked out in all of his last three fights, including the Rocky Marciano one. It was interesting to see him fight Nino Valdez in 1955.
Was that Rodrigo's brother?
Yeah, I think it was. But Nino Valdez knocked him out in three, and then he fought Kiritone Lav, which I've never heard of. I've never even heard of him. So, and I guess he realized that was that. Retirement was pretty interesting. This guy pretty much did everything in retirement. Did you catch any of his jobs?
No, I didn't actually. All I had seen was that he had been a blacksmith, I guess, before boxing, but I did not catch what he ended up doing afterwards.
Yeah, he ended up being a blacksmith after he tried running a farm and had a hauling company for a while, and he was a publican for a while, not a Republican, just a publican. And what the hell is a publican? It's like a what would they consider a publican in England?
Huh. I don't know. Maybe it's some form of
newspaper person,
local government or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Huh. But anyway, his last job was right where he was involved actually, his last job when he died was a maintenance man, an emergency maintenance man. But Don Cockle, blast from the past. Do you have any final thoughts on him, or?
No, I think that this was another one of those situations where you have a guy who, when you look at the totality of his career, the thing that, for young fighters to keep in mind is that, it's the perseverance, that's what gets people to remember you, I think, it's something that, I guess Mike Tyson talks about and Customato always did, is the will and the determination. That sometimes will take a guy further than skill.
It's funny. They talk about him being chunky and tubby and everything, but I think the heaviest he ever weighed was 210 pounds. He was 205 against Rocky in that fight. But anyway, Don Cockle.
Yeah, these were the days before high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah, and PEDs. But anyway, former British heavyweight and light heavyweight champion, and he also was a world heavyweight title challenger. His career record: 66 wins, 38 coming by knockout. He did have 14 losses, stopped 9 times, like we mentioned. 3 of those 9 were the last 3 fights of his career. He had 1 draw 5'11", 506 rounds as a professional with a 47% knockout ratio, and he died very young of cancer at 54 years old. Great job as usual, Alex. Alex, while we got you on the line, a couple of things. We got some big fights this weekend. Abner Mares, Johnny Gonzalez is probably one of the bigger fights. How do you see this one going?
I like Abner Mares big time in that fight. As much as Gonzalez is a lot of fun to watch, I think Mares has him all over him in skill. I think it should be an entertaining bout because that's one of the things about Abner Mares is one of the guys that people. We like to talk about the more glamorous divisions like welterweight and middleweight, super middleweight, as those guys being the best fighters on earth. Abner Mares is a guy that, Mares, Rigondeaux, those are the guys that should also be mentioned just as easily as people mention, the Marquezes, the Wards, guys like that, Golovkin, because I think he's terrific. And this weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if it's another standout performance, like his last one.
Yeah, no, I love him. Hey, by the way, we were just corrected by our guru himself, Henry Haskup. He says no relation, fellas, for Valdez.
For Tito Valdez,
yeah.
okay.
I thought he was, but
it's even a different spelling.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm just glad Henry's in the chat room to correct us. That's good. So we don't get a nasty email from a listener that says you guys don't know crap, man. They weren't even related. But I agree with you. I happen to love Abner Mares. I think that what I like about this guy is basically his resume. This is what, and boxing, we've talked about this a lot, especially this year, Alex. We're in it's clearly a resurgence right now. And the matchups that we're seeing are just outrageous, and I kind of wish that these kinds of matchups were made with other people. I don't even want to mention his name, but early, 5-10 years ago, when you couldn't pick and choose. These guys are certainly not hiding from anybody. Abner Mares is one of them. You look at his resume and look at who he's fought. And speaking of guys like King Kong Ngekbeko, he's back in the mix, and he right away wants to go after some top guys. So I'm loving that. And another fight that I have my eye on is Victor Terrazas against Leo Santa Cruz. I love Santa Cruz. What do you think in that one?
Oh, that's right. That's on the undercard, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be a good one. Leo Santa Cruz, again, is another guy that, you could argue that he should have been Fighter of the Year last year.
I thought so. He fought 5 times, and they were all against, better than good opposition,
Yeah, so it'll be great to see him. Terrazas, I'd have to refresh my memory on him. But I think the thing about Santa Cruz is, just like we saw this weekend with Kovalev, is Santa Cruz has a really, really high work rate. That's when you throw as many punches as guys like a Kovalev or Santa Cruz does, anyone you're facing, you're forcing them to deal with your offense. They're going to have to react. You're imposing yourself on them. And those kind of fighters are just a lot of fun to watch, and I would expect the same kind of thing from Santa Cruz this weekend.
Tomorrow, you're going to be at the weigh-in up at Turning Stone. I'm going to come early Friday. A couple of really good fights. The whole card looks solid, but the 2 main events that we're going to be watching on the televised version are Genis Mendez against Arash Usamani. And Usamani was a guy that was robbed in his last fight, and Mendez was actually won his belt in his last fight. I think this fight's a 50-50 fight. What's your thoughts on this one? Do you have a favorite going in?
I'm going to lean towards the promoter's fighter in this case, because I feel so strongly about that promoter.
Yeah.
Who doesn't,
Are you going to unveil the facial tattoo? Or are you...
Yeah, that's right. I'm going out and getting mine tomorrow. But no, I do think that, Argenis Mendez, he had avenged himself in his last fight against Juan Carlos Salgado, where, he got the KO in the last one. They had the decision. He was defeated by decision in the previous fight, which was a close one. So whenever a guy does that, that's a very emphatic way to win, to avenge yourself over a guy who has a win over you, no matter how it happened. So you can't help but like that going in for Mendez. The other thing I'm very excited about, unfortunately I'm probably not going to be able to stay for the fight itself, but I'm definitely going to be watching at home, is I'm looking forward to seeing how Mike talks about these guys and listening to some of the interviews that he's done in the past couple of weeks. The things he's talked about, I think, are very interesting, and I can't help but think that because of who he is and the esteem most people hold him in, especially if you're a fighter, he is. I can only imagine he's going to have a positive influence on anybody who works with him. Because, whose advice would you take? A promoter who's just a business guy, who's maybe he had some Golden Gloves experience, or maybe he's just always been around boxing, or you're going to take the former heavyweight king's advice, who's been through a life like Mike Tyson.
Yeah, but so in other words, so you're alluding to that comment. You're alluding to the fact that you think that Mike is going to be taking an active part in his promoter role. You think that he's going to be right up in there with these guys? I mean, do you really think?
From what he's saying, I think that's what he's hoping for. He's hoping to find a guy that he can start with from the youth, to be their Customato. And I think anybody he works with, they'd be crazy not to listen to anything he says and pay close attention to the advice he could give him. But I think it would be interesting to me. He's talking about wanting to train guys.
I hope he does. I hope you're right, because these guys that we're seeing tomorrow night, or Friday night, I should say, are not his guys. They're Equinity Sports guys. I mean, let's be real here.
He's sort of stepping in, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They renamed their company. All right, and that's the fact. And these guys have been signed with Equinity, Mendez and also Murillo. These two guys are staples. Actually, they were bragging that Argenis Mendez was the first world champion from Equinity Sports. So he's inheriting those guys. But it would be interesting to see him find a protege, a young heavyweight or something middleweight that Mike Tyson works with, and whether he's training him or not, at least advising him and being in his ear and teaching him the history the way Cuts taught him. That would be great. I never even looked at it like that until you just brought it up, and I'm with you, man. I hope he does take that route. That would be fantastic, and it's like a little piece of Mike Tyson lives on.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that's the real amazing lesson, and it's a lesson that you don't have to be hit over the head with. Just hearing it from him at this stage is enough of the lesson. He's the example. He talks openly how he didn't expect to be alive at this point. He really is living life in a position where every day's a joy, and he wants to share, and I know that it sounds like I'm being extremely cheesy and talking about this guy like he's Santa Claus or something. He does mean a lot to me. He's why I got into this sport. He's been through it all, and he's redeemed himself, and there's nothing better than a redemption story.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing how it unfolds. I don't think we'll get all the answers on Friday, but I think we're definitely going to see the beginning of something. So, and he's been pretty accessible.
And I think he's already been talking about, being. And I think you would like this kind of thing, Billy C, because he's talking in a way about little promoters banding together and making big events. He's talking about if Mendez wins this fight, and of course he's hedging it by the way all fighters and promoters do, that it's one fight at a time. But wouldn't a Mendez-Gamboa fight be interesting down the line? And that would be. Can you imagine the ticket, the amount of crowds that would come just to see that, because 50 Cent and Mike Tyson?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, well, look who you got. You got 50 Cent and Mike Tyson, man. I mean, that's just, maybe we'll get to see the hottie Beyonce in there too, because we know Jay-Z is a big fan. But anyway, Alex, great job as usual, and keep me posted on what's going on tomorrow when you get up to Turning Stone, and then I'll see you Friday morning, man.
All right, sounds great, Billy C. Take care.
All right, that's Alex Papali doing a great job with the blast from the past like he always does. And like we keep telling you guys, this is not a fight I think you're going to want to miss up at Turning Stone in Verona, New York. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I got a couple of emails. I got some news. I got a lot of stuff in about 2.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
I have a bunch of questions, Donnell, right? If you feel like you want to, you can answer for JD first. Why will you win? JD Chapman, why will you win?
Maybe Holmes will get sick and get hit by a train that day on the way to the fight, or he might have diarrhea, he might have the flu, he might throw up. One of his eyeballs might fall out that day, and I might get lucky.
Talking Boxing with Billy C.
In the real world, life has its shares of trials and tribulations, but you don't have to face them alone. This is Patricia Campanaro of Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you are facing emotionally difficult family legal issues from divorce to child custody, reach out to the team that will dedicate themselves to fighting for you, the team of Campanaro and Tomkovich. With almost 30 years of experience handling divorce, child custody, legal guardianship, visitation, and other legal issues dealing with family concerns, we can help you resolve the problems you are facing with professionalism and care. Our supportive staff is always ready to assist you with any questions or concerns you may have. To find out more about Campanaro and Tomkovich, visit us at duchessnylaw.com or call us and speak to a member of our attentive staff at 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. Don't be surprised at court with inexperienced representation. At Campanaro and Tomkovich, we have been helping our clients get the justice they deserve for almost 30 years, and we could do the same for you.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talking Boxing with Billy C.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, Talking Boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
St. Jimmy's coming down across the alleyway, up on the boulevard like a zip gun on parade. Lights on the silhouette, he's in some buttonette, coming at you on the count of 1, 2.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. Glad you could join us. And if you don't have the Fight Now television channel on your sports channel lineup, you need to call your local television provider, whether it's satellite dish or cable, and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. It's that simple, man. Pick up the phone and call. For all the information about the channel, you can find it on their website, www.fightnow.com. We mixed in some stuff before I got to read all of the emails. And this one is from my man Alex T. And the title of this email, the subject of this email, is called Irish Tan. Now, we had some fun over the last couple of days talking about being white and being tan and not being white, like us Italians and whatever. But my man Alex T, he says, man, I was cracking up listening to you and Emily talking about the Irish tan yesterday. He said, my wife is Cape Verdean. She is stunning. Everywhere we go, people comment about her looks. He says, I'm not lying, man. Every single place I have ever gone with her, someone starts talking about her looks. Now, if you don't know this, Cape Verdeans are a mixture of Portuguese and West Africans. Cape Verde is a small, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Alex. He says Cape Verde is a small group of islands on the coast of Senegal. And that's where my man Battling Siki is from. And he says, and it used to be a slave colony. That's why you have the mix of ethnicities. He says some of them are very dark and some are very light. My wife's skin is on the lighter side, but she still has a hell of a lot. She's still a hell of a lot darker than me. People say she looks Brazilian. He goes, when we went to the beach last week, my wife said I was the whitest guy there. I look like a glass of milk in swim trunks. And I'm outside every day. It doesn't matter. I still don't tan. He says, my kids, they look like their mom. My oldest is way darker than me. We don't even look related. Even my middle boy, who's blonde with blue eyes, gets a great tan. Same goes for the youngest. These guys all treat me, these guys, meaning his family, all think me getting sunburns is such a joke. My oldest introduced me to someone last week as my white dad. I love this. He says, I remember about 12 years ago going fishing down the Cape with my wife's family. I got such a brutal burn, I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital. This was when I was a moron and would never wear sunblock. Bill, these guys all thought it was hilarious. We fished in the morning, and by noon I was back inside, and I couldn't even move. These guys are busting my balls, and they're like, here, give the Irish guy another beer and get him back out on the beach. And, yep, I ended up right out there. He says, but Jesus, it must be nice to be able to walk through life and not have to worry about getting a third-degree burn just going outside to get the mail. He says, if I'm glad I didn't pass my skin on to my kids, but, man, I take crap from everyone in my house about being a pasty Irishman. And the reason why I read this is because this is exactly what we were talking about the other day. It was all in good fun. And, I know some people got a little riled up over it and everything else. But, hey, it's like... my man, my new bestest buddy. No, my guy from the New York State Athletic Commission, Ralph Petrillo. Yes, same guy. I was at a fight recently, and he was there, and I wasn't listening to his conversation, but I was sitting right next to him, and somebody said to him, "Hey, Ralph, where have you been? You look great. Looks like you've been on vacation." And he says, "What do you mean?" And they said, you got a beautiful tan. He says, oh, it's a tomato can. I'm sorry, a tomato tan. I was a tomato can. He says, it's a tomato can, tan. And even I kind of was like saying to myself, a tomato tan? What the hell is a tomato tan? And the person I'd asked him said, a tomato tan? And he says, yeah, when I'm out with the tomatoes in my garden. That's all I had to do. And I thought that was funny, and... some people get to tan very easily, and some don't. A sad news. This past weekend, we had I put the Billy Zumbrum and Henry Namanou fight on our Billy C Challenge, and it was reported that the promoter of that event, Tracy Spinks, took his own life after that fight. He was only 55 years old. Our thoughts, prayers, and condolences go out to the friends and family of Tracy Spinks. Not to make light of it, but I can't help but what goes up in my mind. And I didn't know Tracy at all, and I don't know if he had some other problems going on in his life. But I will tell you this: I didn't hear anything about the show itself, how they did, if they did well, if they did bad. But speaking up from my own experience and the amount of money that I lost when I first started doing boxing promotion, I could see why people would want to jump off a bridge or whatever. I'm not suggesting he did that, but I could see where it weighs very heavily on you. I lost my life savings in the sport of boxing twice. So, our thoughts and prayers and condolences go out to the friends and family of Tracy Spinks. It was announced that a great fight is going to be taking place on October 5th. Terence Crawford is taking on Andrei Kilimov in a battle of undefeated lightweights. We were just talking about Crawford the other day, and I had just said, this guy is going to be in some big fights because he's not protected. He's not in with a big promoter. He's in with Prize Fight Promotions or whatever, who has, a lot of decent fighters or whatever. But That's not Top Rank. Top Rank has Andrei Kilimov. So, of course, they're going to test him against Terry Crawford. The problem here is that Terry Crawford can fight. Terrence Crawford can fight, and he's got a great opportunity right here because a win over Kilimov gets him some big payday. So we'll be keeping an eye on that one on October 5th. Now, we have a story up on our website, BillyCBoxing.com, from Martin Murray. He's trying to make a point about how he and Darren Barker could kick off a time in the middleweight division that we haven't seen since Hagler Hearns. And he says it would be a great fight between two Brits, and it would be a good battle. And as a matter of fact, Darren Barker has no problem fighting Martin Murray, except he's already signed to fight Felix Sturm next, because that was a mandatory title defense. So we'll have to wait and see if Barker is in, if Barker will fight Murray later on. I got another email from my man Joel. He's usually in the chat room right now, but he was crying the blues that he had to go to work tonight. But he sent an email and it says, "Hey, Billy C, what's your thoughts on two-time Olympic gold medalist Vasily Lomachenko, who signed with Top Rank recently? He's being put in tough against Jonathan Oquendo for his pro debut on the undercard of Marquez Bradley. It's a 10-round fight. Is it smart to put one in? Is it smart to put someone in that tough for their pro debut?" Well, I saved that email because, this isn't your ordinary pro debut. And I think you have to take that into consideration. Yes, he's a two-time Ukrainian Olympic gold medalist, which means, now, remember, keep in mind, a two-time Olympic gold medalist is a guy that's been fighting for, 10, 12 years already, right? I mean, you got to figure that. He had to have some pre-amateur careers before the Olympics. So he's clearly has minimally a decade under his belt. And, fighting in two Olympics, you're fighting the most talented fighters you can find, nationally, internationally. This isn't a guy with 40 amateur fights. This is a guy with several hundred. Just like Guillermo Rigondeaux and some of the other Cuban fighters that didn't have the option to turn pro. Some of these longtime amateur fighters, their paydays, their big fights are the Olympics. So in this case, Lomachenko is not your ordinary pro debuter. Now, with that said, there is a transition that you go through from the amateurs to the pros. I don't care if you've won a gold medal or not. It's a different game, man. And I do believe that this guy is jumping the gun a little bit. Now, Top Rank they're happy to accommodate. Jonathan Oquendo is no joke. 23 wins, 3 losses, 16 of his wins coming by knockout. He is 30 years old. He's been around a little bit. His 3 losses were against top opposition. But still, to put Lomachenko in there with a guy with 26 pro fights is taking a chance. I believe they're rolling the dice. Now, a little piece of history, you can go back to when Floyd Patterson fought Pete Rademacher, and he was an Olympic guy right out of the Olympics, and he fought Floyd, for the title, for the heavyweight title, and he had won a gold medal and everything else, and he ended up getting knocked out in the 6th round. Although he did drop Floyd Patterson, but he went down 6 times himself before he was finally counted out in the 6th round. So do I think that exact thing is going to happen? No. But I also look at some of these other, fast-track amateurs like Zhao Ming. He doesn't look that great to me. He's talking about going for a world title fight in the next couple of fights or something. Lomachenko is going to be one of those guys as well. But I, for one, will be very interested in seeing this fight and seeing exactly how good Lomachenko is. So in this particular case, I think that it ought to be an interesting event. I think that it's going to be interesting. I don't know what other word to say. It's like Michael Buffer said to me one time, waiting for Evander Holyfield to fight Brian Nielsen. I said, "Hey, Mike, what do you think?" He says, "Interesting." Interesting. That's all he said. It was interesting. But anyway, any news from anyone out there that knows where Jose Sulaiman and that gold key is, causing all kinds of havoc in the city of Miami? Funny stuff. Anyway, we got, I mentioned the fights yesterday that are on the challenge, but we will be, I am official with these. And speaking of the challenge, beginning September. So listen, if you've been waiting for more reason to join the Billy C Challenge, well, we just got it for you. I was on a phone conference today with the big wigs from the Title Bout Championship computer game, and here's the deal. We are now, I know the challenge is basically me. You guys are challenging me to get a better record than me or whatever. But, whether you beat me or not, that doesn't mean you're not going to get a prize if you're the best among everyone else. We give away monthly and year-end prizes for the people with the best winning percentage. Well, now we're going to give away more stuff. There's going to be a place, and it's going to start off with September's fights. So the first fights for the month of September. Anyone that's involved with the Billy C Challenge is also going to be challenging the Title Bout Championship computer game. Yes, that's what's going to happen. So in other words, the Title Bout is going to take the same fights that we have in our challenge every week, and they're going to run a simulation and make their picks. If you beat them, if you beat Title Bout, if you're the first, in other words, if you finish first in the monthly picks, and you happen to have beaten the Title Bout numbers, because it doesn't affect you. If you finish first and you don't beat me, that doesn't mean you don't get a prize. So if you finish first in the challenge and you don't beat me, like nobody's has this year I'm kicking some butt. But if you don't beat me, you're still going to win a prize. But if you beat the game, you're going to win 2 prizes. So we just anteed up, man. We just added to it, and we're going to have some fun with this. I recommend that you buy a copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. It's only $20. You can get it by visiting our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Title Bout Championship game banner. It's on the left-hand side. The reason why I say you should get it is because you can run the simulations of the game, of the fights yourself, to get an idea of what the computer is going to be picking. For this challenge, it doesn't really cost you any money to win prizes, but it's some serious stuff. Right now, I didn't get a chance to post the results up there, but a lot of movement in the monthly leaders, but the year-to-date leaders virtually had no movement. And that's what happens. The more you play and the more picks you get under your belt, your year-to-date average doesn't move that much. If you have a bad week and you got, over 150 fights that you've picked, you don't get beat up as bad as you would on the monthly. The idea of this challenge is not only to win a prize monthly, but you want to win that year-end prize, man, because it's a box of stuff. We send a lot of different things, several things, a bunch of stuff, books and T-shirts and posters and hats and, all kinds of complete. I think last year we did a complete set of boxing cards, courtesy of pugilistica.com and prizefightingbooks.com and all that stuff. I strongly recommend that you get involved with the challenge. It's pretty easy. Just email me, Billy at talkinboxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com, and you're in. Now, here's the we got 11. Jurgen Brammer against Stefano Abatiangelo. Arthur Abraham against Wilberforce Schleppo. Tony Thompson and Kubrat Pulev. Jose Luis Arezia against Jesse Magladeno. Amir Mansour against Mo Harris. Robert Frankel against Anton Novikov. Gilberto Ramirez against Julio Cesar Garcia. Victor Terrazes against Leo Santa Cruz. Abner Maris against Yanni Gonzalez. Claudio Murillo against Jesus Andres Cuellar. And Argenis Mendez against Arish Usamani. Good luck to everybody on the challenge. If you're involved with the challenge, you will be getting the picks tomorrow morning. I do need them all at usual time before the fight start on Friday. If you want to get involved with this, you're better off getting involved now. Get a couple of fights under your belt, get established, and then you'll be ready for the title bout challenge. Just drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com.
Wake up. It's time for It's too early for a trivia question.
Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is being sponsored by my man Ian Grumeza, and his book, which is the Joe Grimm story, Gentleman Boxer. Not only is this about Joe Grimm from the 1920s, but also a lot of other fighters from the Roaring 20s. This is a must-read book. You got to get it, and it's really easy to get a copy for yourself. You can go to Ian's website. It's Ian Grumeza, which is spelled, it's www.iongrumeza.com, and you can learn about the author and some of his other projects and get this book. Or you can go to our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click on one of the book covers. We have them located on several spots on the website, as well as all the way at the bottom. There's a little write-up on it as well. And it's in the Billy C Book Club, so there's a lot of places where you can go. One of the links takes you directly to Amazon, where you can buy a copy. One takes you to his website, where you can buy a copy from him. You can go get it at Barnes & Nobles. Wherever you got to go, get yourself a copy of The Gentleman Boxer, Joe Grimm story. It's a must-read, and we're going to be breaking that down as time goes on. The trivia question is also being sponsored by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino and their event that's taking place Friday night. Get yourself some tickets by visiting our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question, which is supplied to us by our very own trivia question guru, Henry Haskup. And by the way, Henry's got some other trivia questions lined up. I was looking through them today. Some great stuff, man. I love this guy. Does a great job, and we appreciate it big time. However, this one is still available. I got some wrong answers, so thanks for trying. But check this out. If you get this right, email me, or if you know the answer, email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com, and I'll give you a choice of prizes if you're the first one to get this question correct. Which world champion had a sub-500 record, which means he won less than 50% of his fights? Which world champion had a sub-500 record, winning less than 50% of his fights? Here's a hint. He was a champion of one of the top 4 sanctioning bodies, which means an IBF, WBA, WBC, or WBO. So he did have one of those belts. That's the hint. Which world champion had a sub-500 record, winning less than 50% of his fights? He held a belt from one of the big 4, IBF, WBA, WBC, or WBO. Good luck to everybody. First one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, gets the prize.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being sponsored by Campanaro and Tomkovich. That's right. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. Tell them Billy C sent you. And don't forget, I'm going to pick up the consultation fee, 845-221-4099. On this day, August 21st, in 1996, Lorette Boudinot knocks out Julio Cesar Vasquez in the 5th round to win the WBA World Junior Middleweight title, and that took place in France. On this day in 1996. On this day in 1985, a sad day for me, Lonnie Smith knocks out my man Billy Costello in the 8th round. to win the WBC World Junior Welterweight title, and that took place on this day in 1985 in New York City. On this day in 1991, Costa Tszyu knocks out Miguel Angel Gonzalez in the 10th round to win the vacant WBC World Junior Welterweight title, and that took place in Miami. On this day, August 21st, in 1924, Harry Greb and Tiger Flowers fight to a 10-round draw in a middleweight bout that took place at Legion Stadium in Fremont, Ohio, before over 12,000 people. This fight was reported as a great fight, and it was one of these newspaper decision fights. Some people say Harry won, some people say Tiger Flowers won, but the general consensus was that it was a draw. And one of the best lines I read on this fight was Harry Greb Tiger Flowers did not lose to Harry Greb. So interesting stuff on this day in 1924. And finally, on this day, August 21st in 1981, Salvador Sanchez knocks out Wilfredo Gomez in the 8th round to retain his WBC World Featherweight title, and that took place in Las Vegas. Sanchez improves to 41 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw, and Wilfredo Gomez, he loses for the first time in his career, dropping to 32 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. That's what happened on this day, August 21st. Hey, man, I got one more thing to say. You know what it is? Make sure you tune in tomorrow evening, same bat time, same bat channel. Well, there's only one channel. It's the Fight Now channel. Call your local television provider and tell them you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel line. It's that simple. Pick up the phone and call. All the information about the channel can be found on their website, www.fightnow.com. Hey, Dave, you're coming in a little late, don't you think? See you all tomorrow. Ciao, baby.